Miranda, thanks so much for finding the time to talk to us. I just had to catch up with you. It was such a scintillating piece of analysis, and to have it endorsed by none other than the President himself must have surprised you.
It certainly did surprise me. Not that he hasn't retweeted my columns before, but this was a double tweet. And in the second tweet, he, instead of just adding my Twitter handle, he actually added my email address at the New York Post.
So you're getting flooded with emails now. Abuse or praise?
A lot of abuse, I have to say. Look, I turned off notifications. There are literally, I don't know, thousands. I can't count how many there were. And of course, it means that the email address was useless for anything else. So I had to communicate with people by text this afternoon. But yeah, it was crazy. I mean, a friend of mine from the Post actually sent me a text telling me what had happened. And at that very moment, seconds later, my inbox just filled up. And, you know, people just very angry, a lot of them. And they're furious about the fact that Donald Trump has actually, well, seemingly beaten the coronavirus, or at least he's doing well enough to be let home from the hospital after 72 hours of being treated, and he'll continue to be treated at home. But, you know, he's talking about it as if, well, he said today in a video that it's not something that we should be afraid of. Obviously, it's a serious illness, but you can't let it dominate your life. And that's a great lesson, a great message to send to the whole of America and the world, because I think really we're starting to realise the toll of shutting down the country, stopping kids from going to school, kind of ruining the life of younger generations, the prime of their life. And for what? You know, you can easily shut off the most vulnerable people, and you know, the vaccine's around the corner, and the difference between dealing with the coronavirus in October 2020 and dealing with it in March or even in July is chalk and cheese. You know, as you see, the President got some very effective treatments, and they're available. There's one experimental one, but they're all going to be available soon, and two of them are available now. They're kind of off-the-shelf drugs.
There is so much animosity towards him. There's so much criticism for his drive-by, even though the drivers in the car are in full PPE and the rest of it. There's criticism now for the way he's walked out of hospital. You do get the sense that the left are just consumed with the fact that they wanted him to be seriously ill, and now they're trying to call him a super spreader and all the rest of it.
Well, that was the first question when he walked out of the hospital. Mr. President, are you a super spreader? You know, ridiculous. And frankly, the ugliness that has come out, and it's not just from random people on Twitter, which, as we know, is a sewer, but it's also from people with blue checks, you know, people in the media, former political advisor to Hillary Clinton and to Barack Obama said she hoped President Trump died, and she wasn't the only one saying that. It's quite disgusting, and now that he hasn't died, they seem to be enraged that he didn't die. But I think mainly their beef with him is that the fact that he's come out of hospital so quickly, that he looks so healthy, that he's telling us that he's going to be back on the campaign trail, raring to go. He says he feels better than he has for 20 years. That actually blows up Joe Biden's entire campaign message, because he's been projecting this timidity, this sort of stay in the basement mentality where you wear a huge mask even if you're, you know, 20 metres away from the closest human being. It's been quite ridiculous, his campaign, and he's gotten away with it for a long time. And the media, which is all, you know, almost entirely in his camp, has been patting him on the back and saying how marvellous it is that he's been so responsible, modelling this timid, scared behaviour, because it's in the Democrats' interest to keep everyone frightened, the economy locked down until the election, because the last thing they want is for Donald Trump to look as if he's, you know, right, the comeback kid, and as if the country is coming back, the economy is coming back. But I mean, every indicator is that it is coming back. You know, the jobs numbers.
Yeah. Look, Miranda, I think your analysis is so spot on. It's why I said back last Friday when Donald Trump first tested positive, I said this could work in his political favour because of that, because it breaks through that lockdown mentality. It demonstrates the need to get out and get amongst it, to not be dominated by this disease. But in the end, it's a constitutional issue. That is, it comes back to Donald Trump's constitution. If he stays healthy and can go out and campaign and project that image you're talking about, it's going to be very, very good for him. But we know that some people do get very sick in the second week of this disease, so he's not really out of the woods yet.
No, I guess he's not. But look, he has the best medical care in the world, and they've hammered him with 3 different drugs that tackle 3 different issues about this virus. And look, he's a guinea pig. He's tried this treatment that is kind of like the old antibody treatment, and that's experimental at the moment, but appears to have worked very well. He had some breathing difficulties, I think, on Friday, and his oxygen levels had dropped a little bit, and that seems to have resolved itself. And his doctors say that they're happy with his progress, and, you know, they wouldn't let him out of the hospital. He wouldn't be going back on the campaign trail. I doubt very much whether Melania would have stood for him coming home if he wasn't well. And, you know, even he himself, he might be a bull at a gate, but he wants to get better so that he can get back on the campaign trail. The worst thing for him would be to have a relapse. So, and Mike Pence, who's the vice president, the spotlight will be on him on Wednesday, which is kind of 2 nights from now, and he'll be having in Utah that vice presidential debate with Kamala Harris. And it will be the first time that we've seen Kamala Harris in that kind of more stressful environment. And also, I think Mike Pence is Donald Trump's secret weapon. He's a very steady-as-you-go, sensible, kind-hearted man who's quite humble and kind of the opposite in personality to Donald Trump. And he's been a great wingman for him. And he has a lot of integrity and a lot of sort of common sense. And it will be interesting to see how Kamala Harris fares against him. Most people think that Joe Biden is in cognitive decline, and that in fact the person who will end up being president if he wins in November is going to be Kamala Harris sooner or later. Look, I've seen some polling which shows that she's not doing very well, that she's not very well liked, particularly by women. So this will put the spotlight on her, and I think it will also benefit Donald Trump to have a little bit more of the spotlight shared with Mike Pence.
Another fascinating week. Miranda, you're kicking goals in the States. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll let you get back to clearing out that email inbox.